In today's video, I'm going to share the most important things you need to know before starting to learn Korean. Things I wish someone had told me years ago. Whether you're just thinking about learning Korean or you've already started, these tips will save you months of frustration and help you avoid the most common mistakes. I'll cover everything from pronunciation myths to cultural rules that textbooks don't teach you. Hangul is easier than you think. The nice thing about Hangul, the Korean alphabet, is that it has a lot of similarities to English. Here's what makes it easier than you might think. It has 24 letters made up of consonants and vowels. You read from left to right to form words. There are spaces between the words, and letters combine to make syllables. Focus on learning the sounds for each letter. Some of the English sounds aren't distinguished in Korean. For example, the R and the L sound in Korean is the same. Most learners can pick up the basics of Hangul in about 90 minutes. Once you learn how each letter sounds, you can read anything written in Korean, even if you don't know what it means. Associations are the secret to fast learning. Here's something I wish I'd known from day one. Trying to memorize Korean letters through pure repetition is the hard way. At that time, I didn't know about associations. Now that I do, I wish I could have used them back then. When I first started learning Korean, I kept mixing up two vowels, yo and you. I spent hours trying to memorize them through repetition. If I had known about associations, I would have saved myself a lot of time. I'll give you an example of an association. The letter biup looks like a bed with bedposts. It makes the B sound just like in bed. When you first learn this letter, remember it as B from bed. One simple association can save you countless hours of memorization. It's easier to remember new things when you connect them to something you already know. Romanization will slow you down. This might feel like a big step, but it will save you months of frustration. Stop using romanization, which is writing Korean with English letters. It may seem helpful at first, but it actually makes learning harder. For example, the Korean word moon is often romanized as M-U-N. That could sound like moon or mun. Some people may write it as M-O-O-N. This is why romanization is confusing. Here is why romanization slows you down. It leads to bad pronunciation habits. It causes confusion with similar words. It makes reading real Korean harder. It slows your overall progress. Instead, take the time to learn Hangul from the start. It may take a little effort up front, but it will make everything easier in the long run. If you're finding this video useful, make sure to share it with your friends and family who want to learn Korean as well. Understand Korean titles. When I first started working in Korea, my coworkers introduced themselves as Mr. or Miss plus their family name. They also use their English name instead of their Korean first name. This is because first names aren't usually used in professional settings. Instead, Koreans prefer to use titles. Titles are important in many parts of Korean society. This is especially true for family names, which have many more words than in English. For example, there are different words for grandparents on your mother's side and grandparents on your father's side. You don't need to learn all of them at once. Just start with the most common ones. You only need one polite form to start. Many people are intimidated by the Korean honorific system. Yes, Korean has multiple levels of politeness, which can be confusing when you're first starting out. But here's what nobody tells beginners. You only need one polite form to start. When I first came to Korea, I started off learning the formal version of Korean. That's fine if you're listening to the news or a speech, but it's not how people actually talk. If anything, you sound a bit too formal. Instead, start off by learning the polite form that most people use. This is the one that usually ends in yo. This one form works for speaking to friends, talking to coworkers, ordering at restaurants, shopping, and normal daily interactions. Don't worry about mastering every level of politeness right away. Start with one and learn the rest as you go. You already know hundreds of Korean words. Here's some good news. You already know many Korean words. They're called loanwords, and they're the Korean version of English words. You'll start to notice these as soon as you could read Hangul. Words like 커피, 버스, pizza, ice cream, chocolate. Make sure to pronounce these with Korean pronunciation, not English. Say taxi, not taxi. Learn the 80-20 first. Here's a secret that changed everything for me. You only need about 20% of the Korean language to handle 80% of daily conversations. The thing is, most textbooks don't tell you which 20% to focus on. Think about English for a minute. Which do you usually say more often? Go or meander? Good or magnificent? We use simple, common words way more than fancy ones. Korean is the same. Instead of trying to memorize every word in the dictionary, focus on common objects, basic action words, and simple adjectives. This is something I wish I'd known before spending months memorizing unnecessary vocabulary I rarely used. Skim the particle rules. One thing that confuses many learners is particles. These are the markers like 는, 이가, and 을 that follow nouns in Korean. They're quite confusing and can take a while to understand. When I first started learning Korean, I spent weeks studying these particles. I would try to figure out whether to use 는 or 이가. Then I noticed something in casual conversation. Koreans often drop them completely. Think about texting in English. Going to store versus I am going to the store. The meaning is clear even with missing words. Here's why this matters. Native speakers often skip particles in casual speech. The meaning is usually clear from context. You can be understood without perfect particle usage. It's better to speak with imperfect particles than not speak at all. You don't need to learn all of the particle rules at first. Just get a general idea of how they work and learn the specifics as you go. The team and I created a free PDF quick start guide, which you can check out in the link in the description box below. Pay attention to the cultural elements. One thing most textbooks don't emphasize enough is that the Korean language and culture are mixed together. You often learn about one through the other. For example, Korean learners may say my house as 내 집. Koreans would say our house or 우리 집. Koreans often use 우리, our, instead of 내, my, to emphasize collectivism and a shared belonging. Here's another example related to questions. You'll sometimes hear Koreans ask if they've eaten. They'll ask, 밥 먹었어요? It's a way to ask how someone's doing. In Korean culture, asking if someone has eaten is a warm and caring way to check on their well-being. It's similar to asking, how are you, in English, but with a stronger emphasis on care and concern. It also can be an indirect way of inviting someone to eat together. Note that some Korean words and phrases have different meanings than their direct translations. Similarly, sometimes the way we say things in English would be expressed differently in Korean. Pronunciation changes are normal. Although the Korean alphabet has distinct sounds, Korean words aren't always pronounced exactly as they're written. That's because when certain syllables are next to each other, their pronunciation changes. Let me give you an example. The word 감사합니다 is pronounced differently than it's spelled. If you sound out the syllables, it's 감사합니다. However, because of special pronunciation rules, the P sound becomes more of an M sound. The nice thing is that it's actually a bit easier to pronounce that way. Compare the two. 감사합니다, 감사합니다. The second flows a bit more smoothly. Additionally, in natural speech, Koreans will often say the word fast. So you might hear 감사합니다 instead of 감사합니다. Here are some things to know about pronunciation. You'll pick up these natural changes just by listening and speaking. Don't stress about memorizing all the rules at once. Words can sound different in natural speech. The key is to not get frustrated when you hear these differences. Just note them as you hear them and make adjustments as you go. Learning Korean may seem difficult at first, but it gets easier over time. I hope that these tips give you a good start. Let me know in the comments below which tip you found most useful.